Okay, today I'm making a quick video about grain mites and what to do if you get them. Before I get started, I have kind of an unusual mealworm setup. On the bottom, I have these started out as 1,000 adult larvae, and they went through the pupa phase just fine. Now I've got about maybe 700 beetles left in here. I don't know how to guess. They're all up under the substrate and hiding, but there are no grain mites in this container, and there never have been. I got lucky. For substrate, I use wheat bran. I buy it in bulk, and I bake it in the oven for 90 minutes at 215 degrees. Midway through, I stir it. I'm super careful about that. That's not how I got grain mites. This is one of my baby bins. As you can tell, I obviously don't have an auto sifter, so I use one of those colanders, and I sift just the substrate from here directly into here, all the eggs, well, most of the eggs, and tiny larvae fall into here. If you look around here, you might see some move. They're about maybe a 1/4 inch. I don't know. There's a ton, but I've got the lights on and they're all hiding. One technique I use to keep moisture out of my bins is I cut up little, those thin plastic cutting boards? Well, I use scissors and I cut them up into squares, and I put my vegetables on top of those. So that way the moisture doesn't leak through. It appears that somehow a few got knocked off, so I'll fix that. But it's a good idea to prevent, too much moisture and those moldy spots and things that you get. Worms will crawl on top of it, so they'll have plenty of access. So even though I said I've never had grain mites in this bin, you'll see that I lined the top with a thin layer of Vaseline. The reason being, there's always a chance that they can come from another bin or some other place, crawl up the outside and into your bin. Also, if there were any inside, if they tried to crawl out, which they do, when they run out of moisture, they would die and get stuck here. So that's it. I tested this bin to see if it had mites because I wasn't sure. I have a thin layer of Vaseline here and a second one at the top, kind of a double measure. I took all of the vegetables out, so there's no other water source. It's very dry and very low humidity. And I put a cup of water. It's been there for 2 days, not one mite in it. So tomorrow I'm going to put the little placemats, if you will, back in place and put the carrots back because I know my little worms are hungry. But I'm still going to keep the Vaseline and all that stuff going in case we get mites again. One quick thing, how I got mites. If you own horses or goats, like I do, you almost certainly have grain mites in your goat feed, or if any of your feed is sweet feed, has molasses in it. I never thought about it until I had mealworms, but mites are always in those bags. I'm actually ordering green pea flour, and I'm going to add that to my grain, which I keep in this room, and hopefully that's going to help that problem, but I'm sure that's how I got the mites in this container. I'm pretty sure I went and fed my horses one day, and even though I wash my hands really well before I handle any vegetables or touch anything in these things, I must have messed up one day and dropped some mites in. So I'm using this phone as a flashlight. Hopefully you can see the mites. I took away all water sources, right? So the first thing they do, there's a couple right there. Look right at the handle. There's some at the water line. So these little suckers are not smart. They will go straight into the water and drown. I added a little bit of olive oil just to make sure they get stuck as soon as they hit that surface line. But right now I'm guessing there's maybe 30 mites on the cup, and I see none on the outside, so this is a very mild infestation. But I'm going to keep repeating this for the next 3 or 4 days, dumping out that water, putting new water in. I'll put vegetables in for maybe 3 hours at a time to let the worms get some hydration, and then pull them back out. That way I pull more mites out as well. And otherwise, just Vaseline. Keep everything dry. Keep your vegetables on these, containers off your substrate, and bake your substrate. I am also going to experiment with yellow pea flour. A lot of people are really excited about this. Apparently the protein in it kills all kinds of different grain mites. So I'm going to add about 10% directly on top whenever my order comes in, and I'll let you know how that goes. Anyways, thanks. Long video, but I've had a really good time with mealworms. I wish I could show you some of the babies. I wash my hands. I probably can. See if we can get some moving around here. Well, I think they're all at the bottom. I don't want to keep messing around, but I'll have other videos where I show the larva. I don't really want to get my hands in there too much, but all right, thanks again.